Welcome, everybody. I'm Brad Young. I worked on producing the RedZone Mania. Rod Thompson, raise your hand. He's the one with the RedZone behind him, and Bobby Thompson, the brothers, who are the originators
The
of this
brothers
game from
Thompson,
the
yes.
brothers Thompsons, the originators of this game from way back in '93, and now it's online for you to play if you want to play it. And I'd like to know if someone came up and said, "Let's play Red Zone Mania," and they said, I don't even know what you're talking about, Bobby, what would you say? What makes this different than and worth playing?
Well, I'll compare it to fantasy football. Everyone knows fantasy football. Red Zone Mania makes every game count. You're basically using the spread and betting on games as you see fit. There's 5 games to bet, and it makes games count instead of looking for players. It makes it a lot more fun. You can have a game that maybe wouldn't matter to you, of course, like Atlanta versus the Carolina Panthers. But if you think there's a good um, way to pick a team, then it makes it important.
Exactly.
We have sports betting in Michigan, and people, in order to make games interesting, they have to bet on a game, real money, with a sports book. This is a way to do the same thing with family and friends and not lose a lot of money. And when you lose to your family and friends, which isn't as painful. But when you win, it's always better.
It's not traditional pick'em. Now, traditional pick'em that I've seen before is like you pick 1 through 16, the 16 games, and uh, and that's a lot to take care of. We only pick 5, but we have something different. We have what's called weighted picking. So your top pick is worth 250 points, and then 200, 150, 150. And what makes that cool is that all of a sudden it becomes really important what your 250 and your 200 is. I mean, you really want those games to matter to you. So,
Yeah, that's true, Brad. But I've seen it many times come down to the $50 bet,
that's
which is
true.
fun too. And that could be like maybe a Sunday night bet or something like that. So
Right.
every game counts. You win by many times by $50 or pick quality, which we'll talk about later.
I know as a lover of NFL football, and we're talking NFL football, that when Sunday comes around, you got your home team to root for. We're in Detroit, we root for the Lions. And when that game's over, I don't have any interest in any of the other games except to watch them. So the whole idea of having games to watch on TV that you're got a little more interested in, some skin in the game, is to find a game like Red Zone Mania.
That's what fantasy football used to be, but then you're looking for just the individual players. But in this case, like a 4 o'clock game or a Sunday night game could have a lot of meaning to you because maybe that's the game that puts you over the top, as we'll explain. But it makes all games a lot more fun.
It
Yeah,
does.
instead of watching the individual players with the scroll at the bottom and going, "Oh, my guy did great there," you're emotionally involved in a game that you're watching on TV, and you have a rooting interest in who wins and loses.
Yeah. So every play and every player actually matters to you in this particular case. Where if you watch somebody else on your team make a touchdown and you know that the player in fantasy has got that player, you're not really rooting for that. So it just kind of blows the whole concept of watching a game for the sake of the game.
Yeah.
That is the true. That is why people gamble on games. They go, "I got a game coming up here. I got
Right.
to pick someone. Otherwise, I'm just going to look at this game and be bored."
Red zone is free.
Yeah,
You're
it
not,
is.
except for what you're putting, gambling on amongst the league, and it just makes everything a lot more fun. And you're
Yeah.
What
not
is
throwing your
sports?
money to FanDuel and all the
Right.
other sports networks. And believe me, they're making money off of you.
For people who live in a place like Texas, Red Zone Mania is fantastic
Yeah.
because you get to figure you don't have a sports book you can go to bet on a game. We
You know
can,
what also makes it good, Rod, is that when you're playing Red Zone Mania, you're playing against, if in my case I'll be playing against you and Bobby because we're in the same league together. Also, you're playing with your friends, your family, your office mates, and so this game matters because now you're playing against somebody you know. not some sports book trying to make cash. You
Bragging
can't
rights, brother. Bragging rights.
bragging rights,
Now
exactly.
you can put a little money on the game and you can determine what's the right amount of money in the league, and we keep track of it for you. If you decide we want
Hmm.
to put a little something on this so that bragging rights turn into a little cash in your account. So that is available, and that's one of the things that Brad, as the architect of this website, has made easy for you.
Each week you're starting over again, not like fantasy football where the number, your wins and losses add up and you might be out of it by week 8 or 9 because you have a crappy team. In Red Zone Mania, you can make a run in the last 5 weeks, and everything counts.
Besides that, you have to do the draft, and then you have to look at injuries reports,
Yeah.
and then you have to do trades.
It's a
None of that at
full-time
Red
job.
Zone Mania. You get none of that.
Yeah.
To me, when I was a fantasy football player, the best part of the fantasy football was the draft. And then
Yeah.
it went downhill from there.
Right.
Because your team sucks, and draft was fun and got everybody together, but this continues all year round.
I just want to quickly just kind of explain the pick quality in a very succinct way. And that is when you sometimes you win a game with the spread by a lot, and sometimes you win it by a little. Sometimes you can win by a point. That takes into account how much you win games by and lose games by. And that's all it is. It's a way to determine how good a pick it was. If you
Yeah.
win a pick 45-0 and you didn't, and it was an even game, you get a 45 plus point. Yeah, we want to make sure at the end of each week someone wins. So the tiebreaker is very important. And you will find when you watch a game, when you're watching that, oh my God, this team has to score 7 points for me to move into the lead. But it just takes into account how good your picks were versus
Right.
someone else's. That's it.
Right.
What do you think about when you're looking at your pick? We have what's called the pick'em panel, where you can scroll through all 15, 16 games. But I mean, I'd like to ask you each, how do you approach it? I mean, some people like use random, which is a choice, but a lot of people, most of us, actually want to have to think about it as to when we look at these games, which one makes the most sense. Rod, how do you go about it when you start looking
Well,
at the 250?
I listen to sports talk radio, and because we have gambling here in Michigan, everyone's making picks and giving their reasons why. If someone says, "Oh, this is a lock," then I might kind of remember that one. As you watch football, you start liking better certain teams, quarterbacks, and it's very random. You just go in, and by the way, you can make your picks as soon as the spreads come out, but you can always change them up until basically game time. So it's a process that you just go through and have fun with.
And one of the things I'll say real quickly is in Red Zone Mania, the spreads come out Tuesday at 6 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Eastern, and they're locked, and they are locked from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday into the kickoff on Sunday, which is a big window for a lot of stuff to happen. So in Red Zone Mania, that's another thing you might want to consider is looking to see what kind of shifts happen.
They remain the same all week long. So if all of a sudden Lamar Jackson has a torn Achilles, then all of a sudden that Baltimore pick that you look good early doesn't look very good anymore.
But you can change it right up to
Yeah, that's
kickoff.
the point.
Right up to kickoff.
Yeah, you're
Bobby,
Well,
let's hear, Bobby, what do you have to say
Well,
about your,
I would first of all to address that. I've seen the discrepancies many times and have jumped on them and still lost, which
oh, of
really
course. Oh,
just
yeah.
pisses you off because that's the NFL. The NFL is it's every team. Some who comes out hot. We know it how it all
right.
works. So it's all up there. And Rod was talking about um, listening to sports radio, and that's important. Getting information is important, but to me, there's something that sometimes there's something in the gut where you have a feeling. You can listen to all the different stats, like since 2010 after a bye week, coach for Kansas City it has never lost. Well, then you pick on them and then they lose. So you just don't know. Sometimes it's from the heart, and then I just love Sunday mornings when it's time to make the picks, as we've talked about earlier, that we got till noon or till kickoff really to make your picks.
Right.
And just to kind of look at teams, and maybe something just stands out where you just do it from the heart.
Oh, by the way,
if we all could just listen to pundits, we'd all be rich. And that's
no kidding.
not the case. And
No,
that's what makes RedZone Mania so much fun. That it just it fluctuates and you get hot. Who knows?
I had a player come up to me and say, "Damn, this game's hard." Well, it's not. It's easy to do, but it's not easy to win because the NFL is so all over the place.
Well, it depends. Like I'm in many different leagues, and by the way, anyone who's in a league can start another league. We'd
True.
like to see that happening. Anyone who comes across this that's in a league, start another league. Come on. And you can make it 5 people, your family. You can make it the family league or the coworker league.
And Rod hasn't won any of them.
Money or not.
No, I just
kidding.
But you know what I do have? I watch the games and I have a rooting interest in every one of them. Every game that comes on, I go, I want that team to win. And all of a sudden, I'm rooting for them.
Or I want that team to lose because the guy that's right behind you is about to beat you if he wins that game. And that's the kind of stuff you see going into after the 3:00 games start. You see the guys that can move up on you. And so you're rooting against that team big time.
Exactly. Well, and the cool thing about the website, as I said earlier, is that it keeps track. So you know right where you are, right at the time. And so when the 4:00 games start, you're like, okay, all of a sudden that the Seattle versus the Niners game means something to you. And you're watching it with a lot of interest because that might happen.
Yeah,
but who knows what the other teams are doing? And it's like all of a sudden this team sneaks up on you who had those 4:00 games. And that's one of I love 4:00 games. I put a lot of my games on the 4:00 games, so I'm not losing after the 1:00 games.
And I love to keep that. I love that Sunday night game,
It's like in your pocket.
Keep that in my pocket. Yeah, and maybe that's my 250 because I know at the end of the day, if I just do okay, that one will put me over the top. So it's all strategy.
It's usually
sure the day of watching
TV is or to say, right, Rod, or to say that the guy that's beating you has with the Sunday night game and you're rooting on the other team.
Generally speaking, it's a fun, easy way to have an interest in all the games and have something. And I would just say, go ahead and create a league and get a few people started. Don't have to get it all filled up immediately and see if you like it.
But the thing that's interesting also is that the games lock their spreads on Tuesday at 6:00, 7:00 Central. Eastern. But then there's a game on Wednesday. This first coming out of the chute, and that game is part of the game. We don't just do Sundays. And then there's a game on Thursday, and then there's the whole group of games on Sunday, the 2 sections, and then the Sunday night. So you have all these different sections that come into play as to how you want to make your 5 picks. Some people like to make a pick on the early games because they just want to get to see if they can get in the action early. I noticed that Bobby never does. He waits.
No, I like watching the other
Sunday.
Ones. I like watching the other ones pick, and then I get to root against who they picked.
Exactly.
And usually, it's so funny because spreads are tough, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of people tend to go with the better team that's the underdog, -4 or 5. And so many times, especially those early games, it's the plus teams that win. So you get to root on something even if you don't bet on it. So there you go. That's what makes this league so much fun.
I gotta say something that it looks like there's 3 of us here, but actually we forgot our good buddy Earl. Anyone?
Earl.
Yeah, we might.
What does Earl do? What the heck does he do?
Well, Earl is kind of like he's one of the guys that picks games for us. If you forget, Earl will be there Earl will come in and make your picks for you if you forget. So your picks are going to get made, even if you don't make them. He'll randomly pick, and you will have at least some teams to root for if for whatever reason you had a rough Saturday night and you
I was
forgot to
going to
make
say,
your picks. Yeah.
I've heard that
So
before. It's like it's the hangover thing. It's like, damn, the kickoff's already happened, and you go to your game board, which is what we use, and on the game board you have all five picks there, and you didn't make them because Earl made them for you because you have to have your picks in before kickoff. Otherwise, you'd have a blank space there, and we don't do that. So Earl
right.
is the monkey that makes your picks for you. And how does he make his picks, Bobby?
Well, randomly, but I got to make a point on that. It's again kind of putting up fantasy football where if your team sucks, guess what? Those
You're
team
fucked.
owners don't put the best players out. They just quit because they're out of it. And in this case, every week's the same. So at least you know that you have a game, you have stakes in the game
Right.
because Earl made the picks for you, and every week, again, we've talked about this earlier, that every week is a brand new week for you. You can go up the leaderboard if you have had some hard
For the
times.
most part, all the leagues put a little something something on every game on and every week there's money to be made. You can decide, is it $5 a man, is it $20 a man for the weekly win, not only for friends and family just to beat them, but also to win a little money and not give
Yeah.
it to the sports book. But
I
it's a
mean,
simple pick 'em game. You make 5 picks, that's it. And then you compete against who's ever in the league. Could be up to 10 people, but as little as 5 people. Get some friends, get a couple of friends that think they know football and see who's the best picker. It's a simple game. Just try it.
Yeah, I've had people in my league. I'm the mashed potato league because I have a fetish for mashed potatoes and gravy.
that
But
works.
people have come, and it might be not right for some of the people, for some people, and they've left. But
Right.
most of the people have stayed. And once somebody leaves, somebody's in line to jump back into my league. I have a
All of
waiting list, and
yeah,
and that's
exactly.
my I had a new coworker who's just a football fanatic, and he just fell in love with this league, and he's starting his own with his friends because he explained it to them, and they said that sounds really fun.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a matter of, if it's a trial and error thing, go ahead and get a league started. It's never going to cost you, but you'll find that it's
That's
pretty fun.
right. The three of us have been doing this for 30 years. So we
It's
like getting
crazy.
up and making our picks and knowing that, I can look at them and say, I beat y'all, beat you this week. It's my week. It's
Yeah.
fun.
Can't emphasize how much fun it is to kind of play with your profile, put some fun, gifts in there or pictures, and have fun with it. And the bragging rights are what it's all about. You're not going to become a millionaire with RedZone Mania, but you're going to have fun with it, have some bragging rights, just like fantasy football. But it's so much better than fantasy football. That's why people like our friend John, our other friends have kind of let fantasy football go and just done Red Zone Mania. It's amazingly fun.